is Sorensen. Most of you, at least from this way on up, already know who I am. You guys, I have no idea who you are, but still cool. Okay, I'm here to speak for the message, which oddly is not going at the end of this whole thing for once. But today I'm going to preach, or talk, whatever, about perseverance through trials, which is, I think, at least a good topic for high schoolers because we go through a lot in these 4 years, plus middle school as well. My key verse for the sermon today is John 16:33, in which it states, "I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." And that was Jesus that said that, and so, okay. Perseverance through trials is something that all of us will endure one way or another. Some of us have had to endure it a lot earlier in our lives. Some of us may not experience until late adult life. I, for one, have experienced a lot of trying times in my life. I truly hate to use myself as an illustration, but maybe by using myself, I can make just the story and the message more real to you. I personally find it hard to relate to stories about people like Thomas Edison or Abraham Lincoln, but when it comes to real people that I can see face to face, it's much easier for me. When I was little, I was adopted at a young age. Because of this, my elementary school years were miserable. Parents wouldn't allow their kids to play with me because they feared that I was a defect and would end up like my birth parents. Through this, I wish I could say I turned to God, but I had the maturity spiritually of a 7-year-old, mostly because of the fact that I was in fact 7 years old. They were very lonely years, and because of that, I started to doubt whether God had made me right and if anyone could ever like me. They were very lonely years, and because of that, I did that again. Okay. Around the time of 5th grade, I had moved to the Milwaukee School District. I was ecstatic. This was my chance to start over. Nobody knew my history or any of the embarrassing things I did in elementary school, and I was ready to take advantage of this. Yet instead of being myself, I became what everybody else was. Because of this, people could see through my facade and saw that I was a fake, and I was just as lonely as before, if not more. I soon found comfort in the other outcast kids at my school, the kids who were involved in drugs and drinking and all of that other bad stuff. By the grace of God, I never experimented with anything, probably because of the fact that my parents, I know, were praying for me 24/7, but I still let those kids influence my life. I slowly sank into depression and grew farther and farther away from God. Times were getting hard, and I struggled to find motivation to get through each day. Luckily, my mom and dad saw this and pulled me out of the Milwaukee School District and placed me here, against my will, at Des Moines Christian. As happy as I was to be here, things started to deteriorate even more. My mom had had a heart transplant back when I was a baby, and her health had been fairly stable until my year of 8th grade here at DMC. Her health quickly started to fail her about halfway through the year, and I always knew my mom to be a fighter and not to give up on things, so I never thought that she wouldn't make it through. But in January of 2007, as most of you know, my mom had passed away. This was probably the hardest thing for me to deal with in my life. My family was broken. We didn't know what to do without her. What's worse was this was my lowest point with God. I blamed him for my mother's death and didn't become a Christian until about 3 years after her passing. Though I wasn't a Christian, my family still grew closer, and I can say I'm closer to my dad and my sister more than I ever have been before. It was hard for us to adjust to her absence, but we pulled through and became a family once again. Then last April, I did the best thing I could have done for myself, and I rededicated my life to Christ. I've always known that he was the only one who could ever save me, and I knew that he was the way that I needed to go. But because of the anger and frustration I had because of my mom's passing, I couldn't bring myself to want to love him. I used to think that it was my own personal strength that got me through all of the struggles that I've been through in my life, but I now realize that even though I personally did, have some strength, that without God fighting along next to me, that there's no way I could have made it through all the things that I have been through. This past year has still been trying, even though I have been a Christian. But it has been so much more easier to manage and to get through when I know that God is there next to me through everything. Sure, there are still days where I just want to give up and lay in bed and not go to school, but God reminds me that I've made it through so much already, and that all of the suffering and pain I endure now will be worth it, just like it will be for all of you. High school is such a hard time in our lives. People always say that it's the best years of our lives. Well, whoever said that had to be crazy. We go through ridicule, stress, sleepless nights, nerves over boys and girls, hormones, fights with our parents, late nights of doing homework, and these are the best years of our lives. But through all of this, I can still not say that I hated high school. Some will say that it's by chance that we find happiness through all of this, but I, as a senior, who's been through it, can only give credit to God. Over these past 4 years, I, like my classmates, have been through a lot, but I know we can all say that there have been so many great memories that we will never forget. Through all of this, God is there not only to help us through it all, but to help us actually realize that all the pain that we go through is worth it. He places friends in our lives, the kind that you can call at 3 in the morning when nothing seems to be working or going right. He gives us parents who most of the time drive us up a wall, but are always there when we have a bad breakup or feel like giving up. Ultimately, He gives us His word and love. I know it's totally cliche, but it is so true. The Bible may seem boring, but when you open up your heart to God, He will give you the right stuff to read, and you can't help but find it helpful and captivating. I pray that all of you, no matter what grade you're in, whether you're in 12th grade or down in 7th grade, will take heart to what I've said. Our own personal strength may get us through some of our battles in life, but if we want to truly survive, we need God. We can't get through this war called life on our own. He is the ultimate ally, fighting by our side, helping us when we're down, carrying us when we can't go on, and rejoicing when we succeed. You could never ask for a better friend, especially throughout our high school years. I know He has been the best friend that I could have ever asked for and helped me through my messy yet amazing life. Remember, He is always there for you when things are looking up or when your world is falling apart, and even at 3 in the morning. Thank you.